Next fight, use your jab, different fight. Well, he was really basic, you know.
I'm definitely honored to be in that situation and a position to share the ring with another great. You know, it's going to be a hell of a night.
Welcome back to Boxy Hub, the place where boxing fans get their daily fix of the biggest stories, the sharpest takes, and the most heated debates from legends, fighters, and trainers. Today, we are diving into something truly explosive. Mike Tyson has come out with blunt words about Canelo's approach inside the ring. He believes there was a huge mistake in Canelo's tactics that cost him control. On the other side, Crawford has addressed his critics and spoken on his upcoming showdown. And Roy Jones Jr. has weighed in with an analytical take on who really has the upper hand. This is not just another round of fight talk. This is a breakdown that could reshape how fans view Canelo, Crawford, and the entire matchup dynamic heading into September. Stick with us as we unpack every angle of Tyson's critique, Crawford's determination, and Roy Jones Jr.'s razor-sharp perspective. And before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Boxy Hub, and drop your thoughts in the comments below because we want to hear from you. When Mike Tyson points out that Canelo was not using the jab effectively, he is not nitpicking. He is highlighting the foundation of boxing that even great champions sometimes neglect. Tyson says that if Canelo had been using his jab with real authority, the opponent would not have had the courage to walk forward aggressively. That single detail is what opened the door for the other man to gain confidence and press Canelo back. The jab is not just about scoring points, it is about controlling distance, dictating rhythm, and breaking an opponent's momentum. By not committing to the jab, Tyson believes Canelo gave his opponent the green light to march in without fear. This made the challenger braver, willing to throw shots in bunches, and unafraid of punishment on the way in. Tyson emphasizes that when a fighter fails to use the jab, he leaves himself defenseless, almost naked in the ring. Without that lead weapon, there is no shield, no way to disrupt the forward motion of the man across from you. Tyson's critique is more than technical. It is a warning that even a boxer as skilled as Canelo can look vulnerable if he abandons the fundamentals. The jab has always been called the most important punch in boxing because it sets everything else up. Tyson, being a legend who thrived on precision and ring IQ, knows that without a strong jab, the best fighters can get walked down. What he is really saying is that Canelo's biggest mistake was not that he lacked power, not that he lacked speed, but that he failed to keep his opponent honest with a commanding jab. That is what turned the fight into an uphill battle.
I think if Canelo was using the jab effectively, hard, the guy wouldn't have been able to come in because the guy was coming in because he wasn't worried about Canelo's jab. So he got more aggressive. If he's not jabbing, he has no defense. If he's not going to jab.
Mike Tyson then follows up by suggesting that if Canelo simply uses his jab differently in the next fight, the entire outcome changes. It is almost as if he is saying Canelo does not need to reinvent his style. He just needs to reapply the fundamentals that have always been there. On the other side of this conversation, Crawford steps in with humility and respect. Crawford says he feels honored to be in this position, knowing that the spotlight is on him as he prepares for one of the biggest fights of his career. He acknowledges the magnitude of sharing the ring with another great fighter and emphasizes that September 13th will be a night to remember. What makes this section powerful is the contrast. Tyson is breaking down mistakes, pointing out where greatness slipped into carelessness, while Crawford is speaking from a place of hunger, humility, and readiness. Crawford is not underestimating anyone. He is not dismissing the challenge. Instead, he is embracing it as part of his legacy. The way Tyson critiques and Crawford responds shows two different perspectives that meet in the same arena. One comes from a legend analyzing what went wrong, the other from a champion preparing to prove what can go right. Crawford's tone also reminds fans why he is one of the most respected fighters in the sport. He does not get carried away with trash talk. He grounds himself in discipline, respect, and focus. Together, Tyson's instruction and Crawford's mindset paint a picture of how small adjustments and mental clarity could shift the balance of the next fight entirely.
Next fight, use your jab, different fight. Well, he was really basic, you know.
I'm definitely honored to be in that situation and a position to share the ring with another great. You know, it's going to be a hell of a night.
Crawford then gets real about the criticism that has followed his last performance. He admits openly that a lot of people were not impressed, and he does not shy away from the fact that fans and analysts expect more from him. Rather than brushing it off, Crawford says he knows that both he and his opponent will need to step it up this time. This level of honesty separates Crawford from other fighters who often hide behind excuses. He is willing to say that he must raise his game, that the critics are not entirely wrong, and that September is the night to prove them wrong. What stands out is how he frames the challenge. He does not put all the pressure on his opponent or try to downplay the situation. Instead, he acknowledges that both men are in a position where improvement is necessary, which makes the fight even more compelling. Crawford is basically promising fans that he is aware of the expectations and he intends to exceed them. By facing criticism head-on, he builds anticipation because now fans will not just watch for the result, they will watch to see how much he has elevated his game. When a fighter of Crawford's caliber admits that he has another gear to show, that is exciting because it means we have not even seen the best of him yet.
A lot of people criticize my last performance environment. So we both need to step it up, I guess.
Mike Tyson then takes a different angle and criticizes a fight from Canelo's recent past. He admits straight up that he did not like the matchup, pointing to the weight and size disadvantage that Canelo faced. Tyson explains that the opponent was not only big, but also awkward, which created stylistic problems. He even says the opponent should not have been chosen because his style was direct, physical, and difficult to look good against. What Tyson is doing here is not just critiquing the fight, but exposing the dangers of mismatching styles and weights. Even an elite champion can look vulnerable when the opponent has an awkward rhythm and physical advantages. Tyson's perspective reveals how much strategy goes into matchmaking and how one bad choice can make even a superstar like Canelo appear human. Fans often wonder why certain fights happen and why others do not. Tyson is hinting that some of these choices are not in the best interest of the fighter, but perhaps more about risk-taking or market demand. His words serve as a reminder that boxing is not just about throwing punches. It is about making the right decisions outside the ring too. When those decisions go wrong, the result can be a fight that damages reputation rather than builds legacy.
I don't like that fight.
Why not?
I don't like that fight. It's just too much weight. He had a close fight with the last guy he fought, Terrence, because this guy was big and he was awkward. He was really awkward. He shouldn't have fought that guy. He should have fought a guy that would just come straight at him. The guy was too awkward.
Robert Garcia, a man who has seen it all in the boxing world, made a powerful point when he raised concerns about Terrence Crawford possibly gaining too much weight ahead of the Canelo-Alvarez fight. Garcia is not a casual observer. He is one of the most respected trainers in the sport, a man who has guided champions and understands what separates the good from the great. His words carry weight because he knows how delicate the balance of conditioning, size, and speed can be when a fighter moves up in weight. Crawford has built his entire legacy on being sharp, efficient, and versatile. He has dominated at lightweight, super lightweight, and welterweight, not by bullying opponents with raw size, but by overwhelming them with timing, precision, and intelligence. Garcia's concern is that when a fighter like Crawford begins adding mass, he risks sacrificing the very attributes that made him special. Garcia first pointed out that gaining too much weight might actually backfire on Crawford. The logic here is simple yet brutally honest. Fighters are not bodybuilders. Adding size is not about looking the part. It is about maintaining the balance of explosiveness, stamina, and agility that defines a boxer's style. If Crawford walks into the ring sluggish, a step slower, or less fluid than usual, then Canelo will capitalize on it without hesitation. Canelo-Alvarez is a seasoned veteran who thrives against fighters that allow him to dictate pace. He wants opponents to stand in front of him, absorb punishment, and lose mobility. If Crawford loses the edge of his movement because of weight gain, he will play directly into Canelo's hands. That is what Garcia is warning about. He then went further, suggesting that Crawford's camp might actually be preparing with the mindset of survival. If they are thinking of surviving and being able to take a punch, Garcia said, then maybe they are planning on going the distance and being happy with that. This is a profound observation because it challenges the mentality of Crawford's strategy. Is Team Crawford truly entering this fight to win decisively, or are they simply looking to withstand Canelo's power and try to survive 12 rounds? Garcia understands that sometimes camps go into fights with defensive blueprints, hoping to stretch things out, avoid a knockout, and steal rounds on the judges' scorecards. If Crawford is preparing to do just that, Garcia warns, it might be the wrong mentality. Against a fighter like Canelo, who can close the distance, cut off the ring, and land punishing body shots that break opponents down, survival mode rarely works. Robert Garcia's comments go even deeper when you consider Crawford's reputation. This is a man who has never been content with just surviving. He is known for breaking opponents down, finding openings, and finishing them in devastating fashion. To suggest that his team may now be content with merely going the distance reveals the monumental challenge Canelo represents. It shows that even some of the sharpest boxing minds understand the danger Crawford faces. Canelo is not just another opponent. He is the kind of fighter who forces adjustments from even the most elite talents. Garcia's remarks highlight that Crawford might be stepping into waters he has never tested before, and in those waters, survival may be the first instinct. Still, Garcia's warning about weight and survival mode is not necessarily a prediction of failure, but a recognition of the thin line Crawford must walk. He cannot afford to sacrifice his speed for strength. He cannot abandon his natural instincts in order to bulk up against a naturally bigger opponent. If he does, he will be fighting against himself just as much as he will be fighting against Canelo. For Crawford to succeed, he must remain true to the fighter he has always been: slick, intelligent, and versatile. He cannot let the weight define him, and he cannot fall into the trap of believing survival is enough. Garcia's insight cuts right to the heart of boxing's most timeless truth: styles make fights. Crawford must find a way to bring his style up in weight without compromising its essence. If he becomes a slower version of himself, then Robert Garcia's words will prove prophetic, and the night could belong to Canelo-Alvarez.
I think gaining too much weight and too much muscle might have, if they're thinking of surviving and being able to take a punch and being able to go rounds, then they're trying to maybe go the distance and they'll be happy with that.
practice. Roy Jones Jr., one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in history, does not get distracted by theatrics. When asked about the shoving and the trash talk between Canelo and Crawford, he brushed it off with almost dismissive ease. "I pay no attention to the pushing and shoving. I pay no attention to the weak factor," he said. These words carry power because Roy knows better than anyone that fights are not won at press conferences. Fights are not won in heated exchanges during weigh-ins. They are won in the ring, under the lights, when fists start flying and skill is the only thing that matters. Roy's entire career was built on skill. He was not just a fighter, he was an artist, a man who made the ring his canvas and painted masterpieces with every jab, hook, and uppercut. For Roy, all the antics before a fight are noise. He looks at what happens when the bell rings. That is why his perspective on Crawford versus Canelo is so compelling. He does not care about the spectacle, he cares about the craft. And when he looks at Terence Crawford, he sees something that makes him pause. He sees hunger. "I pay attention to the skill level that both guys show in and out of the ring," Roy said, and that statement sums up everything. Canelo Alvarez is arguably the most skilled active fighter in the world today, with a resume that proves his greatness. But Crawford, in Roy's eyes, brings something just as valuable: hunger combined with skill, the desire to climb, to achieve, to prove himself against the biggest challenge of his career. That hunger is what separates the great from the extraordinary. Roy Jones Jr. knows the power of hunger. He remembers what it felt like to move through weight classes, to dominate opponents who were supposed to be bigger, stronger, and more dangerous. He remembers the critics, the doubters, the ones who said he could not do it. Hunger drove him to prove them wrong. That is what he now recognizes in Crawford. Skill can be taught, refined, and perfected, but hunger comes from within. It is something you cannot fake. And when Roy sees that hunger in Crawford's eyes, he believes it will push him to levels people may not expect. Roy also knows that Crawford's hunger could be the X factor in this fight. Canelo has been at the top for so long. He has fought everyone, won titles across divisions, and made himself a generational star. With that kind of legacy, sometimes the fire does not burn as hot. Roy is not saying Canelo is complacent, but he is acknowledging that Crawford is the one coming in with something to prove. Crawford is the one who feels like his back is against the wall, stepping into hostile territory and carrying the weight of history on his shoulders. That hunger can make the difference between merely competing and truly conquering. What makes Roy's assessment so powerful is that he does not dismiss Canelo's skill or legacy. He respects it, but he frames the fight in terms of energy, drive, and determination. If Crawford enters the ring as the hungrier fighter with all his skill intact, then Roy believes we are going to see something special. That is why he concluded his thoughts by saying, "What I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford." In those words, Roy Jones Jr. is not just analyzing a fight, he is making a statement of belief. He is saying that Crawford is not just showing up, he is showing up ready to shock the world.
I pay no attention to the pushing and shoving. I pay no attention to the weight factor. What I pay attention to is the skill level that both guys show in and out of the ring. What I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford.
Robert Garcia and Roy Jones Jr. gave us two sides of the same coin. Garcia offered a cautionary tale. If Crawford gains too much weight and enters the fight with a survival mentality, he could play into Canelo's hands and lose the essence of what makes him special. Roy Jones Jr., on the other hand, looked past the theatrics and saw something deeper: the hunger inside Crawford, the burning desire that could fuel him to overcome the odds. Together, their perspectives capture the drama of this fight. On one side, the risk of losing identity in the pursuit of size and safety. On the other, the promise of hunger and skill combining to create a fighter who refuses to back down. Crawford stands at the crossroads of greatness. He can either fall into Garcia's warning and become a version of himself that is too heavy, too slow, too cautious, or he can fulfill Roy's vision, a hungry warrior stepping into the fire with everything to prove. The fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford is not just about power, weight, or legacy. It is about the razor-thin line between caution and courage, between survival and domination. Garcia's words remind us of the danger, while Roy's words remind us of the possibility. And when the bell rings, the world will find out which vision becomes reality.